Okay, we're about to get ourselves. Oh, I think we're good. Yes, Victor, I see this. Here's it. Okay, Victor's gone. Thanks, Victor. Victor was here and gone with the wind. Okay, I can see your questions now, so feel free to ask your questions. My apologies for the slight confusion that we had, but we are back. Okay. I think we're back. Yeah. Okay, so fine. So the question that we were asked, the question was, sorry, one more second, guys. Just have a little technological problems here. You're on YouTube now as well. Okay. Victor, if you're still here, I made a little mistake here. May you come back in and fix one more thing for us. All right, if Victor is still here, he will be back and fixing one more thing. So, okay. So the question we had was why we would say that Christianity and Islam actually spread so quickly. An interesting question. So we started talking about it, but I want to add another dimension to this. First of all, Islam spread largely because of war, by the sword, which actually in Islam is one of the two proofs that the followers of Islam want to give for the veracity of their religion, is that it spread. And one of the reasons why they say it spread was because they fought a lot of wars and they won. And that's how it spread, but it also is used by Muslims very often to talk about that means it's true, which I don't know why that would mean it's necessarily true, because there's many reasons why God would do different things in the world, but the reason why it spread was because of the sword, because of war. Which I'm just like not centered here. If you do something like that, so that's one reason why Islam spread really was because of the fighting. And that's clear historically. Christianity, it's fascinating in terms of that also, how it spread. People don't realize that during the time of the Roman persecution of the Jews, so what happened was that it was also the period of the most conversions from the Roman society to becoming Jewish. And why was that? Because there was a stark contrast between the Roman immoral activities and the Jewish belief. So there was a tremendous amount, even though there was persecution of the Romans, there was a tremendous amount of conversion still, because people who were disenchanted with the Roman society became Jewish. What Christianity did, besides the fact of Byzantine and that whole period when they made it the religion of the state, but besides that, it also offered people who were in Rome concepts of morality without necessarily all of the obligations of Judaism. So it had an attraction as people were seeing the void of the societies they lived in. It created for them an attraction, which I said earlier led to a lot of conversions to Judaism, but eventually also became sort of as a religion that talked about morality but didn't have the requirements of the Jewish commandments. That was also an attraction for the devoid of moral bankruptcy of Rome. Okay. That's the question. Paul Garcia, welcome, Paul. Good to see you, William. Good to see Abdullah Mubarak. Good to see you too. And let us hear. I am Jewish, therefore I am the chosen people. That's what David Liss says. Well, let's talk about what David Liss says, that he's Jewish, the chosen people, because we have people from all nations listening to this broadcast and observing it. And the chosen people, I think, is a doctrine that has probably people the most creates the most angst in the world, especially in our society, where we have correctly start to feel the value of every human being. One of the great things in America is the idea of being against slavery, because the idea of being against slavery meant that every person has value, that they could express something unique in the world. Which is a whole discussion, because if we don't express things of value in the world, just because, you can have your chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night, I'm not sure that that's really what the founding fathers of America meant by freedom. But be that as it may, the idea of the chosen people in that sense has to be understood. And I always share this with you. We've talked about it before. We'll say it again. The idea really here is that when God created the world, the first 2,000 years, there were no Jewish people. It was not. It was Adam and Eve, and it was a universal system. Noah and the sons of Noah. What happened was God gave 2,000-year period of time where anyone could choose God. And what happened was the world did not. The world became steeped in very, very negative things, and human sacrifices and murder and incest and adultery and everything else. And there was one person that chose God. That became Abraham. Then God said, okay, whoever wants to graft from the Abraham's tree could do that, and everyone else would have 7 commandments. So the idea of chosen people has to be taken with some understanding, David, of the responsibility. It means that not saying, oh, we're there, this and that, but it means that we are chosen to take on a full amount of work on a 24/7 required basis. That's why when someone comes to me, they want to convert, I honestly first tell them, I say, listen, if someone's, why don't you just be a righteous Noahide? As we've said many times, a person who keeps the 7 laws of Noah has a portion of the world to come. Talmud says he's like the high priest of Israel because he's doing his function, and that's an amazing thing in the context of the world. If someone wants to work for 24/7, then they can convert, but they don't need to. And that's really, it's a fascinating thing, but really, in the Jewish system, it is 24/7. Even though the 613 commandments is a lot more than that. There's millions of commandments, because every moment is another commandment. So when you wake up in the morning, the first thing is Modani, we thank Hashem for giving us our soul back, and the whole day, and then the last thing at night is to give our soul back. So that means chosen for a responsibility of a more intense requirement to bring God into the world, and everyone in the world has to be part of that mission too. Okay, very good. Islam recognizes murder to spread the religion and declare that Christianity does not only Islam recognizes murder to spread the religion and declares that Christianity does not only declare by deceit they do. I think I understood what you said, Abdullah. I think if I understood that correctly, I understand what you're saying. And I think that has been the approach. That has been the approach. And don't know that's I know it's not a good way to go. Don't want to murder people. Okay, very good. We have now George. I'm from Montreal, Canada. Is there a Noahide community in Montreal? We are working on it. We are working on that. I used to live in Montreal. And I got a message. I don't know if Larissa is on right now, but I got a message this week. I'm starting to get back to you, Larissa. We are working to try to connect people in different places in the country, because it is crucial. Although we have an online community, we're building an online community. Other people are also, but to have a local person that you can connect with and actually have there is very, very crucial. So George, I will try to get back to you, and we will be. God willing, be visiting Montreal. It's on my list there, and we will try to hook you up with some other people that are there. Okay, good. Any other questions? Please feel free to send them in, and I will take another question here. Question that we are asked here is: what is the difference between Kabbalah and Judaism? Hey, welcome, Kat. Welcome, Scruffy Scrubs, Upper Minnesota. Wow. Okay. So the question is, what is the difference between Judaism and Kabbalah? This one is a really misunderstood point. As a matter of fact, there was a survey done years ago where they wanted to list the top 10 religions. And in the list of top 10, there was Judaism was there, as was Kabbalah. which is kind of funny because it's not a separate religion. What is Kabbalah? Kabbalah is the inner wisdoms of the teachings of the Torah. It is not separate. The word Kabbalah, which people say, whoa, what does it mean? The word Kabbalah is the word lekabel, to receive. It is a transmitted wisdom that God gave Moses as he gave him the wisdom of the Torah in all its levels. He also gave him the passed down, deepest inner meanings. And that means that there's something in the world called panimi, an internal and external. This is a very, very important concept. It's true with body and soul also. Your body should, if you play your cards right and you live correctly, should reflect what's happening in your soul. If your body and your soul are disconnected, it's a very bad state to be in. So the way the world works is, and this is true for everything that's taught in the Kabbalah, that there's body and soul, there's what's called light and vessel, there's an internal, deeper meaning why certain things happen, and then there's an external aspect of it. Okay? Keep up. Okay. So what happens is that the Kabbalah is the teaching of the internal world. That's what it is. The Kabbalah deals with how God created the world and how he runs the world. Okay? As opposed to, for example, let's say I'm learning the Talmud. The Talmud will deal with, per se, the debates and discussions about if someone damages someone, how much you got to pay, and how you have to work that out. That's a lot of layers of the physical world, the world we live in, that God's message is coming through all those layers. The Kabbalah is dealing with the inner aspects of the idea. And therefore, it's a very important thing to know. People who teach Kabbalah and they don't know the fundamental ideas of Torah before, it's called having a soul without a body. Similarly, if a person just learns the basic ideas or the even deep ideas, but not the Kabbalistic level, it's called a body without a soul. So there's no the Kabbalah and Judaism are not separate things, as well as the panemius, the inner understanding of the depth of the Torah. Okay, very good. So Dan asks, how can Kabbalah relate to physics? So I have a friend who's a quantum physicist and a Kabbalist. His name is Moshe Schatz. He's got an amazing book out. You should read his book. I forgot the name of it now. It escapes me. But Moshe Schatz is a fantastic, very, very deep teacher. And he once said to me, he said that he didn't understand how people could understand the Kabbalah before they understood quantum physics. And what he meant by that was that there were words in the Kabbalah and explanations of the Kabbalah that were so hard to understand that now we have more tools to understand them. So the Kabbalah, which looks at the world in a very unique way. Let me give you an example. I'll give you an example, Dan. So there is a concept in quantum physics that when you look at subatomic particles, you find that they may not exist really. It's a probability wave, it's called. So the way they describe it is they see like subatomic particles popping in and out of existence as if they're not there. And and there's the whole discussion in quantum physics, therefore what is there? And they call it a probability wave, that you don't really know if it's there, but it's like there. That actually fits in exactly the verse in the Torah, which the Kabbalists explain. And the verse is Machadish b'choyim tzid ma'aseh v'reishis, that God renews at every split second creation. And when we live in the macro world, we understand, the world is here and the world is what it is. On a deeper level, the world is being projected, and God is putting existence into being at every second. Okay? This, by the way, is a major problem in the world today, a big misunderstanding. And you have this in some of the Western religions, which people sometimes have an idea like, okay, there's me and I do my things. God's out there, and if I go and I'm a good boy and I do X, Y, and Z a few hours, then he leaves me alone or does what he does for me. that whole concept is very, very mistaken, because that concept makes it, well, there's a world, there's me, and my place, and then there's God, and he's interacting with the world. This is not true. This is completely false, and it's very problematic philosophically, because it makes it that God's another thing in the world, that the world exists, so to speak, without God. That's not possible. In the Kabbalah it says, Hu mekomo shel olam, ve'en olamo mekomo. He is the place of the world, and the world is not his place. That means that we, so to speak, exist in God. What does that mean? It means that he gives us existence. There is no existence other than God. He is existence. How, and that's what the Kabbalists talk about in great detail, how does he create this, what's called a chalal, this space for us to exist? But there is no existence outside of God. It's like absurd to go and say, well, what happens, is there two separate things? No, that's in our view, that's idolatrous. Okay, so there's some ideas that have now are easy to understand in Kabbalah, because certain things in physics, especially in quantum physics, have given the modern man paradigms that were very hard to understand before. And I want to explain one more thing about this, Dan, which is really fantastic. So we have a class that's up. We just put it up there on Lag BaOmer, which happened last week, which was the day of birth and the day of death of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, the author of the Zohar and the one who revealed the secrets of the Kabbalah as his soul left him on the day of Lag BaOmer, and it's a fest. It's called his holiday. It's a festive day where he revealed the secrets of the Kabbalah before he died. So one of the things there in terms of understanding. I'm sorry. Excuse me a second. We had a question that threw me off here. I was about to get back to you. Okay, so guys, I got thrown off with the question. So someone just remind me exactly where I was going, because I lost my train of thought when I saw somebody else. I was going to answer another question. What was I trying to tell you? We were talking about. Oh yeah, thank you. Now I remember now. So Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, he writes there in the Zohar that in the future, the teaching of the Zohar will come out of the Kabbalah to the whole world. And I don't know if we realize how amazing that is, because what happened was that the secrets of the Kabbalah were in a very small circle of people. Even the book of the Zohar was not printed till much later, because it was really kept within the circle. The concepts that we talk about today, especially through Hasidus and other and with the world of Machshava, have taken Kabbalistic ideas and brought it out in the world. That itself is guaranteed in the book of the Kabbalah. In the Zohar, it says in the future, these ideas will start to spread out in the world. People will want them. Okay? And I'll tell you something mind-boggling, guys. Listen to this. It's actually... It's based on a verse in the Torah portion of Noah. The Torah portion of Noah, it says B'shna shesh me'ot shana l'chayim Noach. It talks about in the year of Noach, and it lines up the year of his life. And there it says in the Kabbalah, it says in that year of his life, the windows of the heavens opened up and the rain came, and the earth and the depths came up also. The waters came from the depths. It says in the Zohar, it says the year there that would line up in the future where the secrets of Kabbalah would start to come out was the year 1840. Okay, it calculates there based on the Jewish calendar, but it comes in our cycle calendar 1840. Now, that's a fascinating thing, because besides the Hasidic movement, which really came out then and revealed a lot of these ideas and made them accessible, but one of the Hasidic masters says that in 1840 was the Industrial Revolution, and he says that the wisdoms were supposed to come into the world, the inner wisdoms, the panemius, the inner wisdom, and we didn't merit it, it came out as the external wisdom. Because we don't believe science and religion are separate. They're not separate. It's two sides of the same coin. It's God revealing the inner wisdom, and how he creates the world is the outer wisdom. And if you want to learn, that's why a person wants to understand something, they need to look at the world also, see how we're built, how the world functions. You see the inner wisdom that is reflected in the outer wisdom. So one of the Hasidic masters says that when they didn't attain the level they should have, the inner wisdom also became reflected in teaching the outer wisdom. Okay, so that's the idea of Kabbalah. I had a bunch of questions. Let me go back a second here. I had a bunch of questions. Okay. Scruffy Scrubs. I like your name, Scruffy. Scruffy says, I'm actually Jewish. I have a page on Facebook, Noachai, Ger, or Jewish. Sorry to intrude, but we are all coming together. That's right, Scruffy. You got it exactly right. I'd like to know your name because I prefer to call your name other than Scruffy. But if you want to share it to us, we will. I'll call you by that. Otherwise, forgive me for calling you Scruffy. I don't know what else to call you. But yes, we are all coming together. Beautiful. Very good. Abdul, what do you say? I believe the sons of Noah should not learn more than the written Torah, and the reason that the God ordered Moshe to translate the Torah, also, and the rest of the Jewish books are special only the sons of Israel. Abdul, you're saying very, very good points. Very, very good points, Abdul. This is really a great source of discussion amongst people. What a Noachide should learn, what he shouldn't learn. Certainly aspects of the Talmud are not relevant. But aspects that will help in a person's knowledge and belief in God, so that most commentaries understand that is okay, and that's what we're doing. But generally, you're right, Abdullah. It definitely has to be done with care and caution about which everyone should be learning what they should learn, and it's not a derogatory to anyone. There are aspects that everyone has to learn which are relevant to themselves, and that's what they should be learning. Very good. Carla, Dan, will you post our question in Noachai and Shavuot? Where will I see it, please? I'll see your question now, Carla. I think we're set up now. So Carla, if you want to send your question, I'm happy to answer. Okay. So let me. I see David. Liz is sending a question here. Reform Judaism seems to be changing rapidly these days. I feel like I get lost at some synagogues. What do? I will always be Jewish, but what will be of what I thought as a kid now that I'm being told to think different overnight? Well, David, first of all, I happen to know David. David's an awesome person. David's question and problem is a real problem. So we're not trying to be politically correct. We're trying to share ideas, and I don't mean to insult anybody. And this is the way that open-mindedness is supposed to work, where you share ideas. So I'm sharing, and you could share. So I don't mean to insult anyone, but I will say my opinion and how I understand the truth. And Dave, you could respond as you like. Now, so the Reform Judaism is exactly what it says it is. It came to reform Judaism. That it's not an accident that they named it Reform Judaism. The goal was to reform Judaism. And why they want to reform Judaism? Largely because in Western Europe and in Europe in general, for many years there's tremendous anti-Semitism. Jews could not go to university. Jews could not have many jobs. Were forced to be money lenders because the Christian society had outlawed lending and interest for Christians, which is strange because they took a Jewish law and for some reason they adapted that to their own ones, and they nullified the rest of the laws, but that one they kept. I assume because the idea of not charging interest builds a community feel. But they forced Jews into that job, and persecution, killing, pogroms, all this stuff. So what happened was the Reform movement in the 1800s figured if they reformed Judaism, then they would be accepted into the society they were living in. And that's why the things they changed were completely dramatic changes that actually looked like their Christian neighbors. They brought the organ into the service. Okay, they there was discussion about moving Shabbat to a different day. If you read the first platform of the Reform movement called the Pittsburgh Platform, which was written in 1880 when they wrote it down. The first platform there says the following. This is not an exact quote, but it's a basic quote. We reject the Mosaic laws. We reject the return to Zion. Okay? They did not want to return to Zion. Because think about it a second. From the Reformed Jews' perspective, to go and to be living in Germany and to say Jerusalem is our home, well, that was a problem they felt. It would mar their status as good Germans. And they actually started saying Berlin is our new Jerusalem. There was a great sage who said when he heard that statement, he knew it would be a Holocaust. Because that was, he wrote this in the 1800s, because that was a very big problem. So the first move of the Reform movement was literally to reform Judaism, and they basically took it out of its context. There was no longer a binding Torah, which is the fundamental premise that there is a Torah that a person has to keep. That was not binding anymore. They get rid of the Mosaic laws. The question of who wrote the Torah now was not, in the early years, was not God written. It came in the idea of the Bible critics, that there was different tribes that put things together. That comes in the Welthausen and his group. They started putting those ideas in also, and rejected return to Zion, the Mosaic laws. All those things are rejected. That's in the 1880s, and that was the function of Reform Judaism. Now, what David is referring to now about the change in Reform Judaism is correct. That has happened dramatically. I know a Reform rabbi, an older gentleman, who told me years ago when he took his job as a Reform rabbi that he put on a yarmulke when he went into synagogue, his first time there, as the rabbi, and they wanted to fire him. And now he told me, 30 years later, half the congregation will put on a yarmulke during the service. Now, what changed? Why did it change? So the reason why it changed is you have to understand it's a sociological reason. The reason why it changed like this was because since Reform Judaism went to Reform Judaism, what happened was at a certain point, since the goal was if we could fit in more, then we won't be persecuted. In the 60s already, there was no reason for a person to become a Reformed Jew to be accepted in society. Jews could go to college. Many of the professors were Jewish. The professions were, in America, certainly by the 60s already, the Jews enjoyed freedoms and were able to be part of the society. And therefore, the Reform movement, in order to go and to attract people to Judaism, because now there was no attraction anymore, reforming it totally, started to introduce more and more and more of Jewish tradition into their service. And that's really has been a dramatic change in the Reform movement. So, David, that is a situation, that is a reality. But I think that I know I'm sorry that it's tough for you to see the change, but as you learn more about Judaism, then you'll appreciate more also. So come visit us sometime. I'm happy to review some of the things with you, so it makes more sense to you. Okay, Carla asked me, Shavuot, how may Noachites participate? Okay, so Shavuot is as we know is the holiday when we receive the Torah. So, and this is really a question people asked me even last week we talked about it. Noachites are not, as we know, commanded to keep Shabbos, but there's a consciousness that they should be taking into these holidays by which they understand what's happening. So, on the day of Shavuot is a day that the Torah is given. And therefore, the Noachide should thank God, appreciate the day, learn Torah, They can go to work. They can go to work, and a person, simply should. However, you should go with a different kind of consciousness. In other words, a person should go in and say, "Oh, today is special. Today is the day the Torah was given," and as a thanks and appreciation to God for that, learn some Torah. Learn the Torah that is that you can learn. You can go on, listen to classes. So I would say to learn Torah on that day. It's interesting. In Shavuot, there's very few actions because what we're celebrating getting the Torah. So on let's say Tabernacle and Sukkot, we shake the lulav and esrog. Pesach we eat matzah. What do we do in Shavuot? We learn Torah. So even a Jewish person, how they keep the Shavuot is it's a festive day. Part is for learning and praying, and part is for us to enjoy. And I think for Noachai to have appreciation of the fact that the Torah is given and that they can connect and learn things that are relevant to them in the Torah, then that should be a day of thanks and a day of joy too. Very good. Okay, so fine. What we got next? We have Shifra Blanks asking, there is an idea in Christianity that righteousness is obtained through faith and basically has to be given as a gift because we can't earn it. You explain the Jewish perspective how a person becomes righteous. It seems that there is a level of righteousness that Jews have just as a merit of being part of the covenant of Torah. Okay, so let's understand this here. Yes, this is really, hi Fred, good to see you. So what Shifra is asking here is, it is true. In Christianity, it says that they wanted to free you from the curse of the law. That's what it says. I think Paul says that, they're free from the curse of the law. I have a friend, a rabbi in Jerusalem. He told me he's a professor, and he told me one time he had a non-Jewish colleague that came during the holiday of Simchas Torah, we danced the Torah, and he couldn't believe it. He said, "This doesn't make any sense. I've read the Torah. There's obligations, all obligations. Why are they so happy?" So, in Christian theology, there is a removal of the obligations of the action, and it's essentially the idea of faith. There are fundamental reasons why there's a different view here. Let's try to understand. First of all, I ask you a question. Are people essentially good or bad? Now you could get verses from both. You could say, wait a minute, there's a verse in the Torah, Yetzer Lev Adam Ra Minurav, a person is evil from the time of his Nu'urav, his youth. However, the Talmud says that means is that he's given a Yetzer Hara, he's given a force that pushes him towards negativity from the time he comes out. That's true. People, if they don't control themselves, they can go into a bad way. However, people have a neshama, a soul, and therefore that is the essential person. That essentially is good. So now, when we look at different theologies, so if a person believes that the idea that a person is evil, as I'm not an expert in Christian theology, but as I understand from Christian theology, and there's many different sects of Christianity, that the idea of original sin meant the person was evil, and therefore we can't keep a Torah, it's too hard, then it just has to be, well, I can't do it, and then you give up, and then you say, well, give grace and let me be successful. That's not what we believe. We do not believe a person is essentially evil. We do not believe that. We believe a person, their neshama, their soul is holy, and essentially is good. We also believe that a human being not only can strive to perfect himself, but must. And let me explain how this works. If I go and I say to you, let's say let's go back a second, Shifra. Let's understand what's the purpose of this world. Why did God make why are we here? Okay? By the way, you can read that in my book, With Heavens Kiss the Earth. That's the first chapter. We go into this in great detail, and it'll be worthwhile to see. But why did God create this world as it is? So the sages tell us like this. says that God created the world in order to give us the ultimate and maximum pleasure. Okay? That sounds very weird. Pleasure seekers? What does that mean? No. What's the ultimate pleasure? The ultimate pleasure is to be able to go and to experience godliness. There are a lot of pleasures in the world. Eating an apple is good, but there are a whole chain of pleasures. There's a physical pleasure, which is a lower pleasure, spiritual pleasures that are higher and higher, accomplishments, and then you come to the experience of God himself, and that's the ultimate spiritual and highest pleasure. Now, a person is created in this world and is put in a very difficult world, and he has to choose. Now, when he chooses correctly, he actually earns the pleasure he gets. Like if a person goes and creates a business, he builds it, there's a pleasure that I built this is mine. A person is just given something, doesn't do anything for it, he feels like a leech. He doesn't feel like he did anything to accomplish it. So there is a need for a human being to earn what is theirs. And especially in this case, because as opposed to the sort of misunderstanding about reward and punishment, people think, if I go and I do something good, then I'm going to get a brownie. I'm going to get a toy. The action they think is totally separate from the reward. That's not true. The action that you choose and the thing you get is the same. In other words, when you go in life and you have great challenges and you choose what is good, you choose what's godly, you choose to emulate God, then by definition you're going to be able to experience that. Because you chose that. You made that. But what did you make? You made yourself want and connect to what is good. And you eventually will be able to experience that fully with the greatest pleasure. Now, so the point of the world was that we should earn our pleasure by completing ourselves, completing the world, completing others, bringing the world to its fruition, and bringing God to the world we can experience him. So if that's true, then what's the point of the world if you don't earn it? If I say to you, you can't do anything, I'm just going to give it to you, then don't create the world. That makes no sense. If you can't earn it, then you should have created us right away in the world to come. Because in heaven. Because what's the point of this world then? The point of this world is there's a time where you could work and you could strive, and what you make is yours. And that's what the amazing teaching in Ethics Our Father says. It says, what's greater, the world to come or this world? Listen to this amazing statement in the world to come. It says this. It says, if you take all the pleasure of this world, from everybody, from the beginning of time to the end of time, every person, you put it all together, it will not equal one moment of pleasure in the world to come. It can't. It's two different pleasures. It's like you don't go to say to a person, let's say I have a person that loves hamburgers. And I say, Mr. Schwartz, you love hamburgers? I love hamburgers. I say, Mr. Schwartz, how's it going with your relationship with your son? Very hard. He's causing a lot of trouble. It's very bad. I say, okay, Mr. Schwartz, I got a deal for you. Let's trade your son for a lifetime supply of hamburgers. Is anyone going to do that? No. Because you can't compare them. Hamburger is a physical pleasure, and love to human being is a spiritual pleasure. You can't compare them. Two different things entirely. So, on one level, the world to come, in terms of its pleasure aspect, is, even one moment, is great in this whole world. Because this whole world, think about physical pleasures for a second. It's an amazing thing. Think about it. You eat a delicious steak. You love steak. It's delicious steak, dinner, steak, and wine, and that, and you're totally full. And you love steak. You finish the steak, and it was amazing. I come with you and I say, listen, you like the steak? I love steak. I say, okay, here's another one on the house. We have to eat it right now. Are you going to eat it? You can't. Because physical pleasures are based on the same thing. You have a gap, you fill it up, and then you don't want it. Then you fill it, you have a gap, you fill it, gap and fill it. It's limited. Spiritual pleasures, on the other hand, that's why they're greater, because they go on forever, because there's no limit to them. Okay? So all of the pleasure in this world is equal 1 second of pleasure in the world to come. Yet, says the Mishnah Pergalos, all of the world to come doesn't equal 1 second of this world where you could do it yourself. Because after you're dead, you can't do it. You can't choose between good and not good. It's not to you anymore. It's obvious, it's true, it's clear. There's different aspects. So Schiffer, think about it. If the world, if I say to you, you know, you're not good, and you really can't be successful, that's going to be, I'm giving it to you. Because you can't do anything anyway. So what's the point of this world? Why'd you do this? There's no point. From a Jewish perspective, that makes no sense. Besides the fact that you can't change the Torah because it says the Torah will never be changed. But even philosophically, it makes no sense. Therefore, what? From a Jewish perspective, yes, every person, through their actions, can and must develop a process of attaining perfection. Now, it's hard to become perfect. And we make mistakes. But there's also a fallacy in that developed in Christian theology, which was, okay, well, if you're not perfect, then you're damned. That's not true. We have a process. A person fixes up. A person makes a mistake, and God gives us the power of tshuva, the power of fixing up what we've done wrong. Tshuva means to return. You made a mistake, and God built into the system. That's why it says it precedes creation, the ability to fix up what we did wrong. So you're constantly growing, and God's helping you to get there. It's true, but He's not. In the end, He's letting you do it. So whatever pushing and pulling, He's doing it, but in the end, He allows us to do it. That way we have attained our perfection. We have earned our connection, and there's a purpose to our lives. So every person has the ability and the requirement. You do not want to be absolved from your actions, because then the world is meaningless, and so are you. It's like when you have a little kid that's helping. Like Schiffer, you have your little kids helping you, so when they get to a certain age, you really want them to actually help. When it's a 2-year-old little kid and they want to do the dishes, you just don't want them to break the dishes, because they can't really help. But when you consider them to be a person, you might need to show them what to do and assist them, but they feel, I've made something, I built this, I've attained something. That's the purpose of the world. And that's why you do not want to abolish the laws. You can't anyway, but it's absurd to do that, because then your life really is meaningless. And if you have what to do and what to strive for, and you know that even if you make mistakes, God's going to help you, you understand, He gives you a possibility to do tshuva, to fix it up, then you're in a constant growth mode. Okay, great. We have some more questions. I'm sorry, it's a little hard for me to read as I was talking, so let's see what we got here. We got Scruffy's eating cheesecake. Devorah, very good. King David loved Torah. Yes, he did. All right, very good. Fred says, my thoughts on Christianity teaches that we cannot keep all commandments is they really don't understand what they are saying, because we have millions of laws in America and we live by it. Yeah, that's right. That is correct. That's right. People live by laws. Correct. Yeah, but Fred, like I said before, one of the reasons for the fallacy is, and that's why if you meet a missionary, very often what they say to you is they ask you about the sacrifices. That there's no offerings today. So there's no offerings. So what happens when you? And that's a setup for the missionary talk. But what they miss is that the verse says in Prophets says that Nishalmas parim sasenu, we will pay with our lips instead. God gave us the ability. There's no temple, and we want to bring a temple back. The temple is going to be the greatest thing for everyone in the world. Everyone in the world, I guarantee it. Everyone in the world will be very, very, very happy. So it's not just for the Jews; it's for everyone. It's for the Noachites. It's for the whole world. So what happens is that when we don't have it, so God gave us the ability to speak and to ask for forgiveness for our mistakes, even when we don't have the Beis Hamikdash, the temple, and therefore part of the problem they have is the idea that, well, it's all or nothing. No, a person strives, and we understand people make mistakes. It's a verse. There's no one that's perfect. They'll make mistakes. So even sometimes very, very slight ones. They make mistakes. But a person could fix them up. And that's a very important concept also. You have to understand that. Okay, Abdullah says, like Noah, when he built the ark, when he finished the construction process, he had survived. Correct. Okay, David, okay. Says Fred, you don't have to be, because most of these laws are common sense laws, like driver's license manual. Right. Yeah. American laws is mostly common sense because, I don't want to get into politics now, but I think in a lot of the founding fathers of America wanted to give you freedom. The laws were really to allow you to do what you have to do as long as you didn't encroach on other people in a negative way, but they weren't as involved in your life, which is kind of a good thing. I don't necessarily want government so involved in our lives. And that's a political discussion, but that was part of it. So a lot of it was common sense because, I'm having a discussion with some of the same people. Okay, good, Fred, very good. Okay, all right, good, very good. We have time for one more question, okay? Okay, someone wants to send one last question, and if not, I will take one from one as I was sent earlier. But if you have a question, please feel free to ask it now. Okay. We have from the Nochal World Center, I'm assuming this is from Murray Goldberg, as long as law is not used to criminalize or that miscarriages of justice don't occur, which happens to misinterpretation of the law and tunnel vision. That is correct. Oh, we have the amazing Faye. Jessica, is it my understanding that it's through the pursuit of Torah and its laws, not just being a part of, righteousness is only weighed in this world by gaining it for the next. It's worth nothing here. Well, let me relate to what Faye is saying here. Emma, I didn't see Ahuvia's question, so maybe can you rewrite Ahuvia's questions because it's scrolling and I missed it. Emma, if you could just send me Ahuvia's question, I'll answer it. And let me, do I like the Braves? Yes, I do like the Braves. But, I tell you why I like the Braves. I think the matter of principle. When I move to a city, you got to root for the local team. The Falcons, when they lost the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, that kind of shook my confidence in rooting for the local team. But, part of the community, you got to do it. Okay, so good. So, Emma, please send me back Huvi's questions. I didn't see it. Let me answer one thing that Faye said before. And this is, I want to correct one thing. Faye is saying very good. One thing I want to correct here, which is the question is it worth anything in this world, your efforts? And the answer is yes. I want to explain this a second here. This is a very important piece because it actually fits into this week's Torah portion, which talks about the responses you get in this world for positive action. I want to explain this. This is very important. I'm going to go back to what I said to you before. A person goes in life and builds themselves up and they become a spiritual person. They choose right. Okay? Now, there is a degree to which they can experience God and godliness in this world. We know even by Moses, it says, he said to Hashem, show me your glory, show me your face, so to speak, show me how you function in the world. And God said to him, a man cannot see me and live. If you want to get a certain level of understanding, a certain level is beyond the physical, because all of our thoughts are connected with physical concepts. So there's a certain level you could understand. Moshe wanted to go to what's called the 50th level, and God said that level is only after you leave this world. When you're separated from the physical, then you can experience that higher level. However, a person that acts righteously, and I want to be clear here, this is what I'm going to tell you now, needs to be understood properly. Person that acts righteously in this world has this world and the next. Has this one. Why is that? The next world I can understand, because they've acted righteously, And so, for everything they've done, they will experience that as they're able to in the fullest degree after 120 years, and they leave this world, they'll experience it fully. But even in this world, now, it doesn't necessarily mean, I don't say mean, that we guarantee that they'll have health, wealth, and wisdom. That's a whole discussion. I'm not trying to plug my book, but I do talk about that with Heavens Kiss the Earth in great detail, because there are other factors of why certain things happen in life. So people might get certain tests, they might have certain challenges. There's other reasons why it might not go as easily as we'd like. In this week's Torah portion, it talks about when the whole nation is keeping the Torah on a certain level, that they all get the good in this world also. But that's very difficult to come by, because it's got to be the entire nation doing that. But even if a righteous person lives their life in that way, even if they have challenges, and even if for whatever reason they have difficulties and sufferings, they have this world too. Because they understand what they're going through. They understand what it is. There is a sense, and there has to be a sense of contentment and trust and confidence, even when it's hard. So therefore, a person who lives life righteously, not just the next world, they get this world. Even if for other reasons they may have challenges and difficulties. But and you know that. If a person thinks about it a second, they say, okay, I'm going through challenges in life. But the more that you connect to Hashem, to God in your challenges, then the more you have a basis, and you have a foundation, and you have a connection, and the challenges and the difficulties are mitigated. Okay, so it's a process. It's true, and the full experience is afterwards. However, we don't just say, we're not just afterworld religion in the sense that, okay, do things and now you're miserable and then it's going to be good afterwards. No, you do the things. Today is for doing. It's true. But when you're doing them also, that should give you a aura, an understanding of godliness in the world that will help you, even if for whatever reasons there are challenges that the person might need to go through for a greater reason. Okay. Okay, Fred, this is our last one. Okay, we have two more here, but we'll try to finish up a little bit late now. Emma asks, she wants to know the minimum requirement for Shavuos observance. The minimum requirement for Shavuos observance, well, for a Jewish person, the minimum requirement is that you have to have the meals, and you have to have the festivities. There's an opinion in the Talmud, talks about the different holidays. Usually we say Chetzi Lashem, Chetzi Lachem. We usually say it's half for God and half for you, meaning that half of the holiday, you could eat and drink, sing, and be with your family and enjoy in a proper, obviously holy way, and half you could be learning and praying. Some there are opinions that say that Shavuot and Passover, if you want to make it all for Hashem, you want to learn and pray the whole day, you can. But everyone holds that on Shavuot you have to have some of it for yourselves also. So there's the meals, there's the festivities, the joy of the meals. That you have to have two good meals at night and in the day, and with the regular two challahs for each. If you like wine is a good thing to have. It says there's the joy of wine. The times of the temple, it says the joy was from the meat that was the basar shlomim, the meat of the offerings, and of wine. And I just want to tell you why, because this ties to what I said to you earlier. There's something in the physical world we call the external, the internal. The internal is the pnimi, what's the root of what everything is. So wine, it says, comes from the internal. Wine is from the grape. It's from the juice in the grape. It's from the sugar inside the juice in the grape. And that's why wine brings out the secret level. So wine in the temple, and meat in the times of the temple, because the meat was the meat of the offerings. And so it looked like regular meat. You have meat here, you have meat there. But no, one was holy, so it had an internal power. So today we don't have meat. So if you like wine, then add some wine. As far as the learning goes, so there's a custom that Jews have, and everyone can do this, to stay up. They have come to stay up all night and learn. That custom is not an obligation. It's a custom, and it's become more prevalent today. But it really, in Jewish law, it says the people who are very, very strict would stay up all night and learn. Why they do that? So there's a midrash that says that when the time came to get the Torah, Mount Sinai, that Moshe brought the people to the mountain, and they really should have been prepared. They should have been there early. Shouldn't have got there at the time where it was time to get the Torah. They should have been there before, and they should have sort of been there before God's presence was ready to come to the mountain, and that was considered to be some kind of flaw, that there was not enough of the preparation that they should have demonstrated. And to fix that up, there's a custom that some people have to stay up all night and learn. However, to learn a little bit, learn what you can learn. The great sage of Scheinberg was my Rosh Yeshiva. He said that if you will learn less by staying up all night, that you're better off going to sleep and learning more in the day. So if you can learn some Torah, that would be good too. That's the minimum requirement. Last question we have. Oh, look at that guy from Brian. Liana is enjoying this inner hospital room. Oh, very good. Very good, very good. Okay. I'm glad she's enjoying it, Brian. Good. We're enjoying it. Can't see her, but I'm happy to hear that. Very good. Now, last question that Fred says. What is your thought in heaven and hell? It's going to be a long story. Okay. I'm going to give you the short version. Yes. I'm not sure with different opinions, but yes, the concept of what's called Olam Haba and Gehenna, which is loosely translated in English as heaven and hell, is a Jewish concept. There is no argument of that, unless as we talk about reforming and changing the ideas. But if you don't change the ideas, then that is no one disagrees from any of the actual sources. If you have put the modern days, some people have modern ideas, but the idea of the Torah itself is of course. Now, it's a long discussion, Fred, so I can't get into it right now. Maybe we'll take it next time. I'll just say maybe one or two concepts from it to understand. And I'll end with this. I might even have maybe I'll try tonight to do a recording about this week's Torah portion, because it's in this Torah week's portion. This Torah week's portion where it talks about if you keep the commandments, and so what'll happen. There's a very famous question that the commentaries all ask. This was portion. How come the Torah does not go and describe in great detail the world to come? That's called heaven. And they don't, to the point where, it's mentioned and it's hinted at in many places that I could demonstrate to you. It's a long list, but to go and to have pages and pages describing what it's going to be like, you don't have that in the Torah. Why not? So there's numerous answers given. One answer I want to share with you now, Fred, is to understand that it says that if I said to you like this, the world to come, which is called heaven, is so amazing. It's like the greatest, like ice cream. It's like the greatest ice cream you ever had. It's better than the greatest pizza you ever ate. So what did I do now? What I did was I made heaven a physical thing for you. That's all I did. Right? That's the problem. You say, okay, it's 70 virgins. Well, okay, so now what did you make it? It's a physical thing. So if you try to give it in terms of human physical terms, you've taken the whole thing in. You made it okay. So it's so great. So why do you have it for? If you have a good, if you're a rich guy and you live in Southern California, maybe you're in heaven. I don't know. Well, what is that? So that's not what it is at all. So one of the commentaries is the reason why it's not described in great detail is because the more you describe it, the less you understand it. It is the experiencing of the divine, experiencing God. And that's the greatest pleasure a person can get. And so that's the best way I can explain it to you, because I can't give it to you in physical terms, because then it's a physical thing. It's not. It is the ability to experience the divine. And that is the greatest joy. Okay, that's what we're striving for. And I'll say one last point I don't understand, Fred. The idea of what they would call hell is called Gehenna. in the Torah, which has many different facets. Well, kafakela, there's different many different components to it, but the idea really is to enable a person who creates negativity in their world to go through the negative experiences to get to the good. The goal is not to destroy the people, God forbid. The goal is to get people to experience the good, and what that means is that, like, if a person is not well, if a person is sick, they may have to take bitter medicine, to go into get healed. But that's the point. The point is in order to go into purify. So when a person creates negativity, as I said to you earlier tonight, whatever you build, that's the world you made. So when a person, God forbid, has to experience a negative spiritual ramifications after they die, that's in order to cleanse them, to get them to re-understand and to get fixed up, to be able to experience God to whatever degree that they are able to experience it. So yes, there is very clearly in Jewish writings throughout, there is a reward and punishment after this world. Very, very real, very great detail. Maybe we'll talk about it more next week. If you tune back, Fred, and send me your question, I'll go through it a little bit more for you. Okay, guys, everyone, great seeing you all. I believe that we have some. We're starting to put up some videos during the week. And there'll be more and more coming. There's one on Shavuos. May get one tonight on, if I have time, on the Parsha. But check out on the World Nochide Center, the Nativ website, Nativa YouTube page, Inner Spark YouTube page, and other places. We'll be posting ideas to keep us learning, keep us growing. All right, have a good everybody. I will post on the Facebook page a video if that's okay. Love it, great. Thank you very much. Scruffy Scrubs. Good night, everybody.